I'm Andre, the solo developer behind Elder Dominion. Today I do like to show you how world creation works in the game. A major feature of Elder Dominion is the editor, which lets players fully modify the maps they play on. This means every scenario can be unique and offer different challenges. We're starting with the team setup. Down the line, diplomacy will let players form alliances freely, but for now we're sticking with a fixed system. We will assign players to their teams, and let's get started. We begin with an empty map. The size is currently fixed, but that will definitely change in the future. The editor is divided into three main categories: landscape, map features, and players. We have a variety of tools to change the appearance of the map and customize each individual cell, for example by changing its texture. There are many different textures available: grass, sand, dark grass, rocky terrain, snow, and more. Let's say we want to create a grassland area with a little forest and some big mountains in the background. For that, we will use the elevation tool. We can set an elevation level and simply paint the terrain with it. Let's make some flat land here, a few hills scattered around, and gradually increase the elevation to create mountains. To emphasize the look, we apply matching textures. And as you can see, some textures automatically spawn objects like grass or rocks to break up the uniformity of the terrain. There's also a water tool that lets us paint oceans or small lakes. Let's create a mountain lake right here. Our landscape looks decent, but it's missing vegetation. Let's change that. Each cell has 3 levels: plant, farm, and urban. These become important once we start building cities, producing goods, and collecting taxes. As a general rule, the higher these levels, the better. We can set these levels just like we did with the terrain, by painting them onto the map. Since we wanted a forest near the mountains, let's place one here. This generates trees randomly, but the placement is consistent every time the map loads, so their appearance stays the same. In the future, we might add vegetation zones with different types of trees depending on elevation, but for now we keep it simple. The map is shaping up nicely, but let's add something that adds variety and strategic value: a river. Just like everything else, we draw it with a tool, but with one difference: rivers can only exist between 2 connected cells. So let's draw a river flowing from the mountain lake down the valley and through the forest. Now we have got a beautiful landscape and one with strategic terrain. But to create real conflict and gameplay depth, we need resources. Let's make sure they are not evenly distributed. That way, controlling them becomes a strategic objective. To produce weapons, for example, we need iron. So let's place some. Later, citizens will demand luxury goods, like wine or sugar. Let's place some wine near the hills close to the river. In the player sections, we can define the banner and color for each player. Of course, before the match starts, players will be able to customize both. Now let's create a few units and assign them weapons. If you're curious how weapons were introduced into the game, check out the video I've linked. To allow players to found cities, we need to assign a hammer to at least one unit. Armor doesn't matter, it's the equipment that defines a unit's abilities. So the hammer lets a unit found cities and build roads. Let's also create a fighter unit to protect our settler. You may have noticed the unit doesn't appear directly on the map. Instead, it shows up in this list. This list contains all the units a player will start with and can deploy at the beginning of the scenario. Where they deploy them is up to us. We use this tool to define deployment zones. areas where players can place their starting units. These zones disappear once all units are deployed. We can place these areas anywhere we like, defining each player's starting position. Let's place both players on opposite sides of the river so they don't encounter each other too early. And there we go. We just created a 2-player scenario with a nice looking handcrafted map. Let's save it, switch over to hot seeded mode and give it a quick playtest. By the way, there's also a multiplayer mode where you can host games online. But for now, hot seeded mode works just fine. The map loads and the camera moves to our starting position. Our units are ready and we can immediately place them and start founding a city. Once we end our turn, control shifts to the second player, who can deploy their units in the areas we defined. This deployment system also opens up possibilities for building campaigns, a series of connected scenarios, but that's something for the future. I hope you enjoyed this look behind the scenes. I do love to hear your feedback, what you liked, what you would change, or what you think is still missing. If you enjoyed this, give it a like. And if you want to support me, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next update.